Wait till the counter starts before you start talking. Where are these tires made? One of my subscribers, or at least someone that watched the video, asked. Made in Indonesia? Yep. Well, the tires that I put on the Turbo Weasel in 2010 in Phoenix were made in Indonesia, and they lasted from 234. The truck just turned 300. I'm not talking to TB. You figure out what it means. Just can't deal with that woman. She's got a lot of my stuff, my tools, my junk, and my money, and yep. I already had a screw in the tire. Nice big sheetrock screw in sideways. But I've been standing here over the balancer for 15 minutes. And I wonder if my pin is not in the middle or centered or something, because I can't get that bubble to stay in the middle, and I've been playing around. Where's the weights underneath? The weights are actually right here underneath. I put 2 of them, and I've been playing here on the top, putting 1 weight, 2 weights, 1 weight, 2 weight. You know, there's different kinds of hooks for different wheels. This one takes a hook that looks much like a steel wheel, but the weight is more square, kind of, sort of. But that's the weight that came on it. So I've got a selection of alloy wheel weights, but they're all somewhat different. Some have a little lip here, and they're all a little different. So I think I'm happy with this now. It's like when you test a level against a wall, you get the level bubble where you want it. Hello, Israel. And then you flip the level over, and it should be in the exact same place. When I bought these tires near Boston in Braintree, maybe, when I went to the Sturgis, No, not Sturgis. An hour west of Boston. Sturbridge. I bought these Generals, and the guy wanted to charge me for shipping, and then he didn't have the proper weights to balance them, and he's hammering on weights that didn't fit properly. I've got tons of fluid film on these wheels. What do we got here? That's a weight that I may have put on, because I think the left front was the worst one, much like the right rear on that one. Yeah, he had 2 or 3 weights hammered on. I said, don't you have big weights instead of hammering on little ones and don't have the proper hooks? I think I changed these. I put the ones on with the proper hook. But every one had 2 or 3 weights, like the guy at the Firestone shop in Salinas. I'm going to look up that receipt and send them the video if they don't figure out where it is before me. But here was a tire shop that I went to. It's a subsidiary of Monroe Muffler Brake. And all they do is tires, nothing else. And every one had 2 weights, and they didn't have the proper hooks. They may have changed them, I don't recall, but they weren't hanging on properly. If you don't have the right weight, then the weight doesn't sit flat. This guy had the correct weights. So I've been tinkering around here, and yeah, I'm happy with that. It's not directly in the middle, but you can't zero this thing. I've tried adjusting those screws just a fraction of a turn at a time, and you can never get the bubble right in the middle, but that's a lot better than it was. And I've got 2 weights. What do we got here? I've got 2 weights over there, and almost opposite, on the opposite side of the rim, inside and outside, not opposite side, this side and that side, because if you put a weight here and you put one there, you're counterbalancing and you're wasting weights. So somebody else commented that if a tire doesn't balance properly, then you can rotate it on the rim. Maybe the rim is bent, which alloy rims don't necessarily bend, though I did have some on the Accord. Remember the Accord? Yep, still got it. Gas tank has been removed, and a new one is sitting there, and I've got a good used one from Arizona, also with a new filler neck. So I've got that. Honda. Hasn't run in a few years because the gas tank was leaking, and from a couple of different places. Anyways, it's all fixed. It'll all be fixed once I put it back together. So those rims, that's what I was telling you. Those rims were bent. I took the car to have new tires installed years and years ago. The guy said, after you put them on, your rims are bent. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that before? And I would have stopped the job, put the old tires back, and ended up getting some Acura rims with Honda center caps. The Acura rims are a little bit fancier. But yeah, they were bent. They were bent on the spider. They weren't bent on the edge like a steel wheel. They were bent in the center. And they were wobbling. I saw it. I couldn't believe it. 2 or 3 of them. Anyways, I got some Acura rims. You can't find those cars anymore. And the Acura that I used to have that I got those rims off of, saw it driving around a couple months ago. Hard to believe, all those years. I paid $127.50 for it off of eBay. Put a headlight in and a battery, did some body work on the back, and it's still driving around 6-7 years later. So anyhow, this is balanced. I'll hammer that weight on in a second, and I'm going to take off the back brakes on the other side of this Blazer. Anybody in Arizona want to help me? I'm going to mail you the title for that Mercedes. You'll take it into motor vehicle. I don't want to mail it to them. I want to mail it to somebody and have them go in and beg and plead because the title was torn on the fold. And I called up Vermont, where the car's from. They said, oh yeah, those titles tear all the time, no problem. But Vermont doesn't issue titles after 15 years. So 2004s get titles, 2003s get transferable registrations. But they charge, and Arizona doesn't. So anyways, I'm going to take this brake apart and grind down the backing plate a bit and smooth it and clean everything up. And on the other side, what I did was, the emergency brake cable had gone through the backing plate. So I should have showed you, but my phone wasn't working. I welded a washer on to that special spring steel clamp that clamps around the emergency brake cable. Yep, I welded a washer on, then I ground the weld smooth, and I pushed it back in the hole. And now I've got a functioning emergency brake. Next thing I have to do is get some shims to adjust my pinion angle, because that's the way GM ships these cars. That differential should be twisted up, and you need shims to do that. And I'll show you what they look like, because I bought them for this thing, and I found some place in Austin, Texas, Street Rays. They don't answer my messages. There is a shim. There's my lifting block, and there is a shim somewhere. See them in the back? And I put 2 in. So I want to buy a big one. I want to call those guys. They're 20 bucks for 2, but I need some big ones because the pinion angle is, the differential is basically pointing straight and the drive shaft's going up. So you're beating on your universal joint. So you put a shim in and it twists the axle. You loosen these bolts and you twist the axle so it's pointing at the transmission, not at the front of the car. This axle's pointing that way. It should be pointing up. So I need some shims, and you don't know which angle you need till you buy them, so I want to make sure I get the right ones. I try to call these guys, Street Rays in Austin, and it just goes to voicemail. And I message them using the eBay message system, and they haven't responded. And this thing's got a bad U-joint. I've been driving it around, and it's going squeak, 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 squeak. I don't know what's squeaking, because the front should be disengaged, and the back, I jiggled it, my yoke is worn. I welded it. Here, I'll turn the light on, I'll show you. I welded it, and the weld broke. So I need a new axle pinion yoke, because from plowing, this one is beat up. And I've got that axle straight now. It still tilts coming out of the transmission or the transfer case, but you can't help it. So anyhow, I even dropped the cross member 1/2 inch using that spacer, but there's a bad U-joint in this thing. It's going. So that's free. So I'm not turning anything in the front end, and it's in 2-wheel drive. That's free. Something squeaking. I don't know what it is. But you can't see where I've welded it. I'll turn the light back on. I welded the cap to the drive shaft because it's loose. More need a new drive shaft and a new yoke. It's from plowing. Back and forth, lots of fluid film. Thick and rich. Only way to preserve it. Too bad I didn't get the rockers at the beginning. They are gone. Rotten. Alright, let's hope this video posts in its entirety. I have another one. It only posted 1 minute of a 10-minute video. Yep, this is going to be for sale once I get it all fixed up. Ready for sale.